Welcome, everybody. This is Tesla Today. And because it's a Wednesday, we have Alexandra Mertz with us. She is known on Twitter as at Tesla Boomer Mama, and she's been doing quite a number of information that she's sharing with us. You should check out her latest information about the proxy statement that Tesla is releasing today. We haven't seen it yet, so she'll give us an update on that. But we're going to talk about the market share growth of Tesla. We're now seeing signs from Europe and China. We're seeing market share growing for Tesla. And of course, Q1 deliveries are expected to come up too. We'll talk about that as well. So welcome, Alexandra.
Hi, Herbert. Nice to be with you.
Okay, Alexandra, thank you so much. Why don't you start off with the proxy statement? You thought that it was going to be submitted to the SEC today. What's your update?
I still think it's going to be today. They actually announced it about a week ago. Tesla had received another of those shareholder proposals, and they refuted it. So they had to file something with the SEC. It was last Wednesday, saying this one came too late, explaining why it was too late and all that. And in that SEC filing, they said the proxy statement is planned to be out on March 29th. So I expect it to come today, probably when the market's closed.
Okay, so as soon as it comes, you're going to go read through the 100 pages. You're going to summarize it. You're going to let us people know, Tesla shareholders know what it is that we need to know. You're going to announce it, and you're going to point out areas that we need to focus on, correct?
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the proxy statement is going to prepare us as shareholders to decide and to be able to be prepared for the annual shareholder meeting and whether or not what we are going to be voting on, correct?
Yeah, correct. So this is the agenda of the votes for the shareholder meeting on May 16th. It will have Tesla proposals in it, which are for sure for 4 of the 8 board members to renew their 3-year term. And it may also have some surprises in it. Maybe Elon going for the chair position again on the board, maybe a new compensation package. And it may have a lot of new stuff in it. It may also just be the basics. We'll just have to wait. It's always interesting, and I think there's only one shareholder proposal. We talked about that yesterday from an Iceland lady who wants a key man risk report. I'm not sure that's going to be useful, but we'll see.
Okay. So just a couple audience
They just want to make me laugh again. They know how bad I was yesterday.
Well, what if we submitted a... Is it too late?
No. I'm all good here.
Give Alexandra a like for her work on our behalf. Absolutely. You do a lot of work for us, and you're very important because, us shareholders do not have this information, and you are providing it. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
All right, let's get going with, there just seems to be kind of a number of news that came out yesterday and this morning about Tesla's market share. So the first one this morning from Berlin Energy. He said,
Energy. He's great, by the way. Follow him. He's really great.
I am, and I get so much of our tweets from this person. So per year-to-date March 2023, the Tesla Model Y is now the #1 selling vehicle of all vehicles in China. #1 selling vehicle of all vehicles in China.
And by far, I think 30% higher than the second one. I think there is a graph with it that shows it. Let me just set the stage. These price cuts beginning of January had a... No, don't do that, David. Don't do that. You'll make me laugh again.
What's David saying?
You just do that to get me out of my thing now.
Oh, come on, David. We need her focused. Come on.
Exactly.
Focus.
I will get back. So let me set the stage. We had these price cuts. Lots of people were wondering whether that will work, whether there would have been alternative, better methods, advertising or whatnot. And the clear result on anything that's trickling through now is that these price cuts worked. They worked in China, they worked in Europe, and they worked in the United States. So let me maybe pull up that second graph that you just showed from Berlin January. He shows the top 10 models sold in China up till the 26th of March, so nearly the first 3 months. And you see the Model Y on the bottom line, 83,000. And then the other cars, which are actually smaller cars, much less budget cars, in the 60,000 range. So this is by far the winner, not just a slight win. And then Model 3, and again, I think you said it, but just want to point this out. This is all cars, not only EVs. You see, actually, there are 3 ICE cars in the top 10 still, but China is much ahead of the curve compared to the US in adoption of electric vehicles. There is one hybrid car in there, but I'm sure that's not going to last for long as either. So Model 3 is number 10 with 38,000, just short of the number 9 Sagittar. So that's a very interesting chart, and it will clearly show that Tesla is gaining market share compared to many other automakers, except for BYD. BYD is also gaining market share.
Okay. I mean, just to reiterate the point that the number 1 selling cars in China for the last 3 months have been electric vehicle cars. So Model Y, Hongquan Mini, Song Plus. This is the hybrid. Then you've got
actually 2 hybrids. You're right. Yeah.
A fuel car, and fuel cars are much less than we have now. So this transition definitely has occurred. Here's the other table to show the same table.
Exactly, right? It's the same thing, but in a more logical way, having the winner on the top. But it's the same, yes.
Okay, and then you can see the fuel cars are making up the rest. But it's great to see the top 6. They're all electric vehicle cars. And then I just want to show this again. I love this table. Basically, this is showing you how the electric vehicle market share in China versus the price range. So if you look at the bottom, that's the price, and then this is the top, the left, the vertical is the market share, and the price. If you divide it by 7, that's what you get in US dollars. So 350 yuan is about $50,000. Okay, so
exactly, and then you have in this olive, and then you have in this olive big box, that's a Tesla Model Y. And the dark purple brownish below it is the Model 3. So in that price range, they're clearly leading. So the size
brown.
Of the it's brown. Oh, sorry. I'm
so Model Y, Model 3, the BYD, and then the Zeekr. So really it's BYD and Zeekr that are competing in the premium $50,000 US range. But
small,
Tesla Model Y is beating them. And then the reason why BYD succeeds is because of the much cheaper models, which is right here, which is right around 200,000 or less, 220,
30,000,
30,000.
25,000
US dollars. We're talking BYD Yuan, BYD Dolphin, BYD Chin, and then this is called the micro car, like super cheap.
Exactly, the one that GM is actually associated with, if I recall right. So the BYD, just everybody keeps also please in mind, they are currently not very profitable yet, 4 to 5%. I think they will scale, and I think they'll become more profitable, but I mean nothing compared to Tesla's profitability. But BYD is probably going to be one of the ones remain standing.
Okay. We do have a question here from Main Tree Vent. What is your past experience, your work history, your awesome content? But they want to know a little bit about you.
Sure. I don't mind telling that. So I started my career as a fund manager with Deutsche Bank in Paris. From there, I moved over to another German, now Swiss bank called Commerzbank. I was fund manager of the biggest European mutual funds. Then that was in the 90s. One of those funds was rated by Moody's. That's how they met me, seemed to be impressed. So they hired me. So from 1997 to 2003, I was senior credit officer VP at Moody's. Then after that, I left them. That's a whole other story that I have to break one day because that's a funny story. So when I left them, I set up my own rating agency. That's called Scope. They still exist, but I sold my shares to my business partner in 2007, was out of the financial markets then. Then for 6 years, nearly 7 years, did real estate agency for luxury properties in the south of France, where I lived with my family. I had 5 children and loved doing that. But then my husband decided that he wanted to move back to the United States, so had to prepare our immigration to the United States. Did that, got that visa in 2014, moved the family to California, where we still are. And That was initially on a non-immigrant visa, which helped me understand how these non-immigrant visas work. So I set up a consulting firm helping other entrepreneurs coming to the United States. And then in 2018, got my green card based on the success of my business, and probably will be in about a year a US citizen. So there we are.
Wonderful. Well, we're very lucky to have you here. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you.
I mean, she's a fun manager. She knows her stuff, and we're very lucky. And what you forgot to tell everybody is that you're all in Tesla. That's why you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's what I'm doing. What I'm doing.
March 2020. That's true. That combines us all, doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Let's continue talking about how Tesla is just absolutely dominating around the world. So we just talked about China. Here is a new milestone that Tesla has hit. It's now nearly 50% market share in Norway. So they've been just, this is against other electric vehicle companies, 50%. And so the reason I bring this up is that, we've had conversations with like Gary Black, who's been saying that he can't get himself to believe that Tesla will hit 20 million of cars per year by 2030, because to him, when he calculates that will be 40% of market share. But if you see that Tesla is able to get 50% of market share in Norway, do you think that this is a fair, like early bird kind of thing, saying this is what a possibility could be?
So Norway is a very specific market. And you probably remember the GM ad last year, Super Bowl, is really a precursor for the rest of the market, both in Europe and worldwide. They are at a much higher adoption rate of EVs. I think it's between 80 and 90% now. So it is where we will get probably by 2030, if not a little bit later. Let me address my discussions with Gary, and he never gets back to me on that question. And I really would love to get an answer from him. His model is built on 2030, and he goes, there will be 10 million Tesla cars in 2030. They will never get to 2030 to 20 million. And I ask him, okay, if they don't get to 20 million in 2030, when will they get there? Because it's not as if Tesla is going to sell 10 million per year and then stop at 10 million per year, right? The year after that, there will still be growth. I mean, it may not be an incremental growth of 50%, but there will still be growth. And that answer, I never get that question, I never get an answer. And that always reminds me of Elon's phrase, saying we're making the impossible merely late. And so do I know whether they will be at 20 million in 2030? I hope so. I'm still, that's still my bullish scenario when I do my scenarios for Tesla. But I don't mind either if it's 2032 or even 2034, right? This is not for me something where we have to have the watch in our hand and make sure this is the specific year. For me, it is really the trajectory that's important. Now, getting back to Norway. So Norway is an important milestone because 50% of the market is just crazy, meaning you sell one car out of two, right? This is just to fathom that. I mean, it's a small country. Yeah. It's a small market by itself. The TAM is not huge, but to see Tesla succeed so well for over such a long time, right? They were always leading in Norway, and it's just again the proof. And I love those charts. You probably have all seen them, where at the beginning of the quarter, nothing's coming to Norway, and the Volkswagens and the whatever others are trying to build up their sales there, and then suddenly you see the blue line for Tesla, and off it goes, skyrocketing and beating them by a high margin. So yes, Norway is a good indicator for us. Nobody has a crystal ball to tell you exactly how quick it will come, but it should really prove to all of us that it will come.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that. So this is a slide that was out of order. This is still about China. So Alex Voigt said, automaker January and February year-over-year sales in China. So the reason it's out of order is Alex usually reports on Europe, and so I thought it was here, but actually it's in China. So he's showing that in January and February, year-over-year sales, Japanese car makers fell by 40%, Korean 25%, German 21%, and even Americans 13%. But BYD grew 40%, and Tesla in January 10%, but February 32%. So
yes,
clearly,
and obviously will be more in March, because the third month of the quarter is still the domestic month for Shanghai. Just a real big shout out to Alex Voigt, because I think he brings a lot to the table, has a very good grip on the German car makers and their issues. So we always have to keep the competition in our view. We're seeing new models from them. They're not very compelling yet, but I think it's good to keep an eye on them. And he's doing a tremendous job in bringing that information to us. So I just want to call him out.
Actually, I think this James Stevenson tweet actually came from Alex. He was the one, I think, who shared this. So, but James said, Tesla Q told me the competition was coming to take Tesla's European market share. But what we're actually seeing is Tesla's defending its 20% share of the European market, while everyone else is dividing the remaining 80% into smaller and smaller slices. So let's take a look at this
great
graph,
chart,
which is quite cool. Explain to me what
great
you're seeing
chart.
here.
So Tesla is blue, the bottom blue. And where you see about in the middle of the chart, the 30% blue states, that's 2019. So that was still a very reduced market. I mean, this is just market share of EVs, right? In 14 countries, and always showing only the top 8 brands, meaning the rest of it is just more brands with smaller market share. So from that 2019 peak, Tesla declined just because other people came up, notably Volkswagen, which is the clear blue one just above it. And then it sort of went in waves. And now you see for the first time in the last column, first quarter of 2023, that Tesla is above 20% again. So they have, in this quarter, by these price cuts, moved ahead in market share position. And I just want to point out why market share is important and what are the limits of market share. Market share is important because there is obviously a whole infrastructure with it. There is a production capacity with it, and we want Tesla to sell more cars. But why is it less important? As I stated yesterday, there is the point of at what margin, and for that we'll have to wait another 3 weeks until we have the Q1 financials. And then there is also the point of these cars are all pre-equipped for full self-driving. So more cars are out there for full self-driving, more will be penetration of data collection and will be potential FSD purchases. So the Tesla number of cars has a couple of layers. It doesn't cover everything because we still don't know the margins on these cars this quarter, but it is a very important indicator.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, so this is market share, not like you said, the volume of EV sales have gone skyrocketing since 2019. So that's why, although it looks like that this is, they lost market share, it's actually because there was very small numbers at that time.
Exactly.
And this is like 14 countries in Europe and all these 8
the ones that do have a good reporting and an up-to-date reporting are all here.
Perfect. Okay, so this is just another out of their news. We saw that IDRA, who makes the Giga Press, they made the announcement that they have another transatlantic crossing. Do you think this is coming to Tesla or somebody else? Or
well, I had the question of transatlantic crossing. So obviously they're in Europe. So the question is, from Europe to go to China, you don't actually cross an Atlantic. You don't go transatlantic. So I do believe this is going to the United States. Yes, just because of the word transatlantic. Because otherwise, it would be.
Well, they're based in Italy, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So
transatlantic from Italy would mean the US. Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly it. But I mean, you never know, but that seems the indicator, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we never know. We'll never know. Okay. So now I just wanted to share that, just today, we saw 3 different cars being announced. So I don't really know all the details, and I'm not going to review the details because I didn't review them, but just want to share that Kia EV9, the specs were revealed today, 336 mile range. And then there was the...
Looks like a big car, right? Looks like a 3 range car. I mean, I just see the picture for the first
crossover, I guess. And then there's a Mercedes teased their Maybach EQS SUV. It's an ultra luxury, but they don't show it, but they just wanted to make an announcement that it's coming. And then Polestar, they said this is coming this year, and it's an electric luxury crossover. It looks like it's expected to arrive later this year. So,
I follow Polestar a bit. Sorry, about this, the stock exchange, because it's part of one of the ETFs I follow. Oh, I forgot to say that earlier. I forgot so much to say about. But one thing I do is I monitor daily the actively managed ETFs that have a lot of Tesla in them, and one of them is Ross Gerber's GK, and he has also a position in Polestar. He's the only fund of those that I monitor that has a position in in Polestar, and it's not going so well. But I mean, if they bring new cars, maybe Polestar will become an important player here. At the moment, it's still very tiny, very, very tiny.
Okay. And yeah, okay. And I think we heard that both Polestar and BYD's actually, well, Polestar's already in the US, but they're both coming out to North America now.
Yeah, BYD is already in Europe, and the reviews are really mixed from people that have experienced Teslas and are test driving BYDs, and and they don't seem to really be compelling, given that they're competing at exactly the same price ranges than the Model 3 and the Model Y. I mean, if they would be cheaper, probably people would accept it, but they seem to be very comparable in prices to the Teslas now, and then the Tesla is a much more compelling product.
Okay. Let's talk Q1 numbers. So Gary Black said that on this Sunday, right, April 2nd, we're going to see Tesla is going to report their first quarter deliveries and production numbers. And he is looking for 424. So not much higher than the street average of 419. And then he said that our 424, it is going to be record, is going to be, this is why they think it is going to be North America, Europe, China,
rest of world, yeah,
total, yeah, 424.
Yeah. So let me explain a little bit. I'm been following obviously Gary for a while, and speaking to him because I'm also on the advisory board of his fund, and he clearly has a strategy with his prediction. He always goes as low as it still seems reasonable, because he feels that, and I think that's actually right, that the institutionals read his tweets, they know it, and so they get influenced by him, and then he hopes obviously that Tesla overperforms. So he's always a little bit too conservative. 424, and I think his production is 442, just the other way around, so that I can remember. And both for me seem low. I mean, I've told you yesterday, I think in delivery they'll be at 437.5, and in production at 460. With a much stronger Europe and China number than he has there, and I think the Model Y US numbers are gonna be absolutely outstanding. And I do believe the Model 3 standard range, the ones that have currently still until end of March the 7,500 tax credit, which is not sure to be reconducted in April, may have also very surprisingly high numbers. So I'm much more bullish than Gary, with the little reservation that it's fine they deliver, it's fine they do. That's what those price cuts were supposed to trigger. But now the question is the financials. So let's keep it real once the numbers come out on Sunday.
Okay. So he had a follow-up tweet to that one. And this is confusing to me, okay? Because what he's saying here is that he doubts that Tesla will miss the first quarter volumes, or they will lose huge credibility, because Tesla has indicated that they expect it to be at 420. And that's why he's doing 420.
That's Gary's logic. That's typically Gary's logic. He would say Tesla has been so optimistic, and because they're so optimistic, it has to be higher. The thing is, they were so optimistic very early in the quarter at the Q4 financial call, and again at Investor Day. But on Investor Day, it wasn't really specific to this term. It was at the Q4 earnings call, where Elon said we're seeing double the demands for cars after the price cut. That was the bullish sign, but that was very early in the quarter. You can't hold them accountable for that. But again, I think he is downplaying it with his 424. I think he actually expects and hopes for more. And then he just tries to reason that down, because we have to understand there are people, outside of this Tesla community reading Gary's tweets, and he just wants to keep it very real and maybe a little bit too pessimistic to have a good surprise.
The thing that's confusing to me is that he says, the reason why I think it's going to be over 420 is because management is guided that it's going to be over 20, and they're going to be embarrassed if they miss it. But then on the other side of his mouth, he'll say that you can't just trust the management guidance of 20
million in 2030. Yeah.
Because I've learned my career, you don't just trust what the management says. And yet here he goes, well, if they said 420, now maybe it's a short-term versus long-term thing, but it's still kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
show me the demand, Gary. Well, that's what the management is saying. The management is saying the demand is unlimited, and especially right now with the pricing cuts. So here's his third tweet associated with that. He said the first quarter deliveries of 424 will almost certainly be a new record. It already is. We're already here.
It is.
A quarter one volume beat would be a go long way to restoring credibility, because the last two consecutive big quarterly volume misses, the fourth quarter and the third quarter, they missed it. So they need to show that they can beat it at this point.
I don't think, like I said a couple of times today, I don't think volume is going to be the problem. I think we actually have good surprises. Let's then wait for earnings. And again, all my respect and love for Gary, but the reputation of Elon hindering Tesla, that didn't prove to be true. The demand problem at these prices didn't prove to be true. So now let's wait for the margins. But other than that, everything is green.
All right. Let's take some questions from the audience here. We got Farzad joining us. I love you, Farzad. Thank you. Is Alexandra making noise? I don't know. Have you been making noise? I don't know if it's
Farzad that's making noise.
You've been sharing gems and knowledge. You've been hitting out of the park. So, I don't know if it's noise, right? It seems like you're not. Or is there anything, like, you're not against anything at this point, right? You've been basically
no, and just why is Farzad saying that? Because on Friday afternoons when the market is closed, every 2 weeks we do a noisemaker podcast. It's still very small. We just did one, and we'll do next Friday. So the two of us are poking each other in those 2 weeks between those, always saying, "Are you making noise again?"
I can help. I can help Farzad. I can make her go after you and. Or not you, but like make noise, right? I mean, so what are the things that we should be making noise about? So let's talk about it. So Tesla, what is the concerns we have at this point, right? Because we're not fighting for a buyback right now. They seem to be hitting out of the park everywhere. We're not concerned that Elon is distracted. Are you? No. The new shareholder proxy, you'll find out soon, and you'll see where it is that we should defend Tesla if we needed to help them. But right now, we don't know. Is there anything that you're warning us?
No, at the moment, I don't see anything that's really, concerning me. I'm actually very happy because I found the stock price is low. I like it when it's low because it allows me to accumulate more. And, I'm more worried when we have a stretched stock price and feel like, we're getting into a territory where it becomes a little bit too high. So no, there's actually at the moment nothing on my radar that gets me concerned with Tesla.
Okay. And then is there anything that you're very happy with? I mean, are you thinking that, like I've been saying the last few days, that I don't see anything that Tesla's doing poorly? Is there anything that they're doing poorly?
I don't see anything poorly, and I have to say, Investor Day was really good for me. I watched that, I think, now 4 times, and I can't get enough of it. I was really very, very reassured about the depth of the bench. How many good people were up there. I loved their vision. I loved the way they laid it out. So no, and since then, I really felt that they have a plan. Just trust it. Let it be now.
All right, we got a question from the Hanif. Says, what does Alexandra think about the Tesla compact car destroying all OEMs in the next 2 to 3 years?
It sure will be. It sure will be a killer for loads of them. So the compact car, I mean, everybody always tells me it will be mainly in China and Europe, and I know these regions need the compact car, but I so wish it also comes to the United States, because people don't always need huge cars in the United States either, or they want a second car that's smaller. So if they are able, and I do believe they will, to cut costs down to 50% of what it currently costs to produce a car and bring out a very compelling compact car, this is going to be game over for lots of the competition. I mean, I'm not talking about BYD, but the traditional OEMs are going to have real problems.
It's going to be real problems, but it won't be for at least a year, maybe even 2 years before this comes out, right? And so that's why I
want groundbreaking now. Do you see that there's news coming slowly and slowly about Mexico? I think this morning I saw that the Mexico plant will be the most water efficient plant in the world and all that. I think they're actually very close to groundbreaking there. And then it's 9 months, right? And that means we're at the end of this year. And I mean, I know ramping a year, 2, I know, but But I think this is much more promising than we all think.
Absolutely, yeah, and it usually takes 3 months for the ground breaking, but I think that when they've already made the decision, they've already started saying, you got to move fast. We want this to move fast, and they've already agreed to that. But what's your, like, when I've been saying that, I think that even before the compact car, we should start seeing the Model 3 further price reductions. Even just a $5,000 price reduction on Model 3 would just make waves in terms of addressable market, right? So do you remember that slide that we used to show everybody that showed the addressable market skyrocketing?
Yeah. It does. If you move further down the price scale, it just goes up and up. I mean, I do believe there are more price cuts coming, probably even more for the Model 3 than for the Model Y. You all understand the Model Y is at 55,000, yet the tax credit could go up to 80, and they never increased it. They have now the latitude. If it would only be tax credit motivated, they could have put it back up, and they did not. So I do believe the Model Y will probably stay around 55, and the Model 3 probably still has another price cut to come.
Okay, so this as far as that
saying again, he's making noise.
He's making no, he's not. He's making good information here. That's not noise. Okay, it's like compact car with FSD is the greatest disruption in recent memory, in my opinion. I'm redoing all my models to account for this properly, given a V11. He just said also that he's playing around in version 11.3, and it's just, most people are saying that it's actually quite a step change improvement, and that we're all kind of still used to, we're going to get improvements, but it's going to take years and years. But at some point, it's going to be like all of a sudden, shockingly very effective.
I mean, the moment it will be reflected in I think you asked me a question yesterday. The moment it will be reflected in the stock exchange is when we see subscription rates going up. Not purchasing upfront. I mean, I don't even know whether that's going to be available for much longer. But when we see that $200 subscription really making an impact in Tesla's numbers, then that's the moment the stock exchange will get it, the market gets it. It's just that they are not, this is nothing they can phantom, right? This is nothing that they can put into their models and understand what an impact it can make. So we just have to be patient for that. It's not a matter of is version 11.3 ready or is 11.4. It's the adoption of the client, the fact that they subscribe to it, that's going to make the major difference. And obviously robotaxi. The other thing that I found interesting today, and I think we didn't talk about that, is Bill Gates, my dear friend, I'm joking, did a test drive in London with a self-driving car that is, I think it's called Wayne or something like that. So it's something I haven't heard about. So obviously there are other people now getting into this market. I mean, he's not publicly sharing this on LinkedIn if he wouldn't have an interest in it. And so I do believe there are other players coming into this market and some exiting because they're not getting anywhere. So this FSD Phantom. Okay, people giving me English lessons.
You get distracted again.
I'm trying.
Stop getting distracted. Stop reading the notes here. Exactly. You speak 5 languages. Come on, it's okay. These are like little nuances. Right? You speak 5 languages, correct? Yeah.
Well, 3 fluent. Well, none fluent, but 3 not bad. And then the other 2 a little bit less.
Wave.
It's called. Exactly, not Wayne. You're right.
Thank you, Matt.
And so I do believe there are coming new players into that, new money to it, and there will be lots of things, but Tesla will be the leader. There's no doubt about it. There's just no doubt about it. Nobody can catch
okay, well,
it.
I kind of disagree a little bit. You just said something like, it sounds logical what you said, which is, only when we see FSD subscriptions skyrocket, and then that's when the analysts will start breaking it in. That's not to me, and I don't think that analysts. This is so revolutionary. It's like I guess the way I think of it is, let's say that there's a drug company and they come out with in the phase 3, and the phase 3 says this drug works. Now nobody has bought it yet, but it's now shown that it's worked. You don't need to wait for the numbers to appear before you basically, the market cap of this company should skyrocket, and investors will, value at a certain
you
level.
are right. You're right. But in real life, that's not how it works. Now, the one thing you have to understand, the people like us who are in this Tesla community and understand FSD, we know it and we price it in. And that's why my today value is $300 and not $190. But for the people that don't know it and have watched these videos for 2-3 years and think, oh, we're never getting there, they need financial confirmation that this is a product that is attractive to a client and that they are prepared to go on a subscription model, and then they will. Remember when Amazon had their web-based thing, it went from one day to the other, skyrocket. Nobody saw it coming, right? And here it's a little bit the same story. We all know about it, but nobody sees it coming. So we'll just have to be patient. There's nothing we can do about it.
Okay, well, so let's continue that conversation. Ethan says the hang up for FSD is regulatory approval before Wall Street models. But I'm telling you, if we're talking about the stock, if the stock's going to rise, right? What is it? 400,000 people are playing FSD right now. I just went to a dinner party with a very good friend, and he had no idea that my Tesla, could drive from his house to my house, a 40-minute drive, totally driven, end-to-end, driveway to driveway. He had no idea. And so when people discover this and they see less and less disengagements, that's what's going to drive more investment, at least from the retail investor. It's almost like what happened when people saw the CyberTruck when it came out. My brother, for the first time, decided to invest in Tesla when he saw that. It's going to be something like that, like really kind of like changes the narrative from the society of understanding that this thing can work.
I mean, there has to be
more so than waiting for Wall Street to see numbers of subscriptions going up.
Sure, there has to be a wake-up case, and I do believe it will become with robotaxis. I don't know whether you saw Omar's last video when he played Uber with it, and he had these Irish people, I think they were Scottish people, in there in San Francisco. It was absolutely mind-boggling and cute. But let me address it step by step. Regulatory approval. Now, people always imagine there is now this institution who has to approve full self-driving. That's not how it works. I thought so for a long time as well, until I really dug into the system. There is nobody. I mean, there is obviously Nestor who can make recalls and can have a certain influence on it, but the whole system of level 2, 3, 4, and 5 has been laid out. It is up to Tesla to announce, okay, we're not level 2 anymore, we're now level 4 or maybe even level 5. And that is just more or less a question of liability, meaning, is Tesla now liable for accidents if they happen? So it's much less a question of a regulator has to turn the switch. It's more a question of Tesla doing that announcement. And so that is obviously going to be a step change as well. Then it's obviously in the United States, because it will first be approved in or going wide into the United States, a question of states, because you have sometimes state regulations that will forbid it. I mean, there's still US states that don't allow Tesla to sell cars, right? So if you think that those will be the first ones that will allow FSD, you're probably mistaken. So the regulators, for me, is less of this big hurdle that will make it, now marketable or understandable by the market than everybody thinks, because it's less of a administrative hurdle that I thought for a long time. Once I plunged into it, it's much easier than you all believe. It's more of an insurance liability issue than it is, and then it's really up to Tesla to now declare we are level 4 or we are even level 5.
Well, Tesla is going to be the one that's going to say that we will take the liability with our insurance. You get FSD with us, you get insurance with us, we will take the liability, because we know how much safer it is. At some point when they make that announcement. The other point I wanted to make about, this kind of awakening in the consumer mind is, look what happened to us when we saw GPT-4. Yeah. Look what happened to the entire world pretty well instantly when they saw it. Yeah. So for what we all played with lots of different versions of AI, kind of like Siri, and we know it sucks and it doesn't work. And all of a sudden we go, holy cow, this thing actually kind of works.
Does.
Could something like that happen with FSD, where all of a sudden it's like, holy cow?
Okay, yes, I mean, the moment will come. Like I said, the level 4 moment or whatever. But Dave Lee, who you interviewed last week and had published on Sunday. Perfect interview. Loved that one, Herbert. I mean, you're doing such a great job. I just have to say that again and again. Dave Lee made a very good point. ChatGPT, you can throw it out there. It's not risking anybody's life, right? It is just it is a very efficient tool and people use it, but nothing else is impacted. Full self-driving has to prove that it's safe, right? And is not allowed to have a big there you go. Ethan said at the same time, it doesn't have a liability issue. So the question really for wide FSD is liability, and that is for Tesla to make the decision when they are ready. So I cannot speculate whether it's in 3 months or in 3 years, but it's going to come.
Okay. Well, I think that the interesting thing is we are now talking about this. Everybody in the, people are now talking about it because the FSD version 11.3, now I think there's going to be 11.4 coming out. It just seems that we are at step change now, that it's no longer like, it's going to take years. It's going to slowly bring down from this. I've been telling the story that I was at a plane with a friend, just an airplane with a stranger sitting down beside me. That was 2 years ago. And I just received the FSD beta. And the person said, never happened in my entire lifetime. Even my brother said that, never in my lifetime. Well, now nobody's saying it won't happen in my lifetime. They're saying 10 years. No, now it's going to be like, I think many of us here, we think it might happen 3 to 5 years, but actually, it can actually happen sooner.
Exactly.
This is fun. And then this is great for us as shareholders. So we think that we've got something like this that could just come out at any moment, or it could take a few years, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Fantastic. I appreciate this. And as always, appreciate you. So, everybody, you need to be following Alexandra at Twitter at Tesla Boomer Mama. She also has a Substack. You got to go visit that site because she always produces very well-researched information that's important for us Tesla shareholders. Thank you again, everybody. Appreciate it. See you guys next week. Thank you.